Welcome to our deep dive exploring the evolution of human society.
Yeah, always an exciting topic.
You shared some excerpts from Human Society Part 2 by Shrii Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar.
Right.
And we're going to unpack his ideas about societal cycles.
Yeah.
It's like a big historical puzzle where different classes rise to power and eventually give way to the next. Warriors, intellectuals, business class, all vying for control.
Yeah, it's like a constant flow back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about Sarkar's perspective is that he doesn't just, write down who's in charge.
Right.
But he really looks at how human aspirations and values shape these shifts.
Yeah.
And it's not just a boring history lesson.
Right.
He paints a really vibrant picture of how intellect and spirituality and even things like exploitation weave through each era.
Okay, let's dive into the first stage. The Kshatriyas.
Okay.
The warrior class.
Right.
Imagine early humans banding together,
Yeah.
driven by basic survival instincts.
Yeah.
Strength and bravery were everything back then.
Exactly. Sarkar describes their social structure as very primal.
Right.
He compares them to monkeys or dogs to highlight the lack of developed social consciousness. But it's important to note that early humans weren't inherently bad or anything. They were simply focused on immediate needs and self-preservation.
Yeah.
Yeah. The concept of duty to a larger society hadn't really taken root yet.
So their art and literature reflected that.
Precisely.
Like just basic expressions rather than refined sensibilities.
Exactly. Think about rudimentary cave drawings or simple chants focused on tangible, immediate things.
Okay.
So while it was primitive, this Kshatriya era was essential.
Yeah.
It really laid the very foundation for human society.
Right.
But like everything, it was destined to evolve.
And that evolution brought us to the Vipras, the intellectuals. Now, these folks were clever. They strategically navigated their way to power, creating complex social systems and even religious doctrines to solidify their control.
The Vipra's rise shows just how powerful intellect and strategic thinking can be.
Right.
They understood how to shape societies by influencing not just laws, but also beliefs.
So it wasn't just about brute force anymore.
Right,
it was about controlling the narrative.
The thought wave of a society. Exactly.
The thought wave.
Yes. Think of thought wave as like the collective intellect and mindset of a society.
Yeah.
A unified thought wave can make a society really strong.
Right.
Whereas internal conflicts and fractured thinking
Yeah.
can lead to its downfall.
Right.
Sarkar uses the example of how a more intellectually unified Arab culture eventually assimilated the remnants of the Egyptian civilization, even though Egypt was once super powerful.
That's a striking example of how ideas can be just as powerful as armies.
Yeah, absolutely.
It seems the Vipras were masters at weaving these intricate systems of control.
Right.
What's this Gotra Pravar system they developed?
So the Gotra Pravar system was basically based on clan and lineage.
Okay.
And it was ingenious in its complexity.
Okay.
It dictated everything from marriage to social standing.
Wow.
Which effectively solidified the Vipra's dominance.
Right.
And they even reshaped religious beliefs,
Okay.
moving from simpler fear-based practices to more elaborate rituals and concepts like ghosts and curses.
Okay.
All serving to influence and control the masses.
Wow.
Their intellect allowed them to put these beliefs into elaborate scriptures, which were often presented as divine revelations.
Right.
So this further solidified their authority.
It's amazing how they managed to leverage intellectual prowess to shape entire societies. But it sounds like there was a downside to their rule, too.
Yeah, indeed. The Vipra's focus on intellect often came at the expense of things like compassion and social equality.
Right.
Their reign saw an increase in exploitation and the subjugation of women.
Right.
You can see this in practices like polygyny and restrictions on women's rights.
Yeah.
It's a cautionary tale that intellect without a moral compass can be very dangerous.
That's a sobering thought. So we've seen the raw power of the Kshatriyas give way to the calculated rule of the Vipras.
Right.
But it sounds like another shift is coming.
Yeah, definitely. This sets the stage for the emergence of the Vaishyas, the business class.
Right.
And with them comes a whole new set of values and challenges.
Right. I'm already intrigued. Let's dive into that Vaeshya era next time.
Okay.
We'll explore how they managed to outmaneuver the intellectuals.
Sounds good.
Thanks for listening. All right. See ya. The Vaeshya Age is, it's really a turning point.
Okay.
It's a shift from intellect being dominant to the dominance of material wealth.
Right.
So we're talking about the rise of the business class.
Okay.
The people who accumulate all the capital. Mm-hmm. And you know, it's fascinating.
Right.
They actually managed to outmaneuver the intellectuals, the Vipras.
It's almost like ironic. You'd think the Vipras, with all their smarts, would seen it coming.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Right.
But it really shows something important that Sarkar points out. Yeah. Just because you have intellect doesn't mean you have practical control.
Yeah.
The Vipras, even though they were super bright, they often didn't have the skills to manage resources.
Okay.
Or predict the Vaishya's cunning strategies.
So how did the Vaishyas gain the upper hand?
They understood the power of capital.
Okay.
They used their wealth to control resources.
Right.
And even to manipulate the Vipras themselves.
Wow.
And as this happened, society's values changed.
Right.
Material wealth became like the new measure of power.
Right.
So what happened to the Vipras? Did they just disappear?
Well, not exactly. A lot of them were forced to become what Sarkar calls intellectual Satans.
Intellectual Satans.
Basically, they had to use their knowledge to serve the Vaeshya agenda just to survive.
Right.
It's really a tragic example of how even the most brilliant minds can be co-opted when their survival is at stake.
It's a reminder that economic forces can really shape things.
Definitely.
Even intellectual pursuits.
Absolutely.
So with the Vaishyas in charge, focused on profit, what impact did that have on society as a whole?
Right. Well, that's the complex part of this cycle. Okay. It's never just good or bad. Right. While the Vaishya's focus on profit did lead to exploitation and social division, it's important to say that they weren't like inherently evil. Okay. They were driven by different values. Yeah. Mainly material gain and efficiency.
Okay, so their motives weren't necessarily bad.
Right.
But did their methods cause harm?
Yeah.
Like Sarkar talks about the use of isms to divide people. What did he mean?
Absolutely, yeah. The Vaishyas were very good at manipulation. They exploited existing social divisions and even created new ones to keep their control.
Okay.
Think about it. Isms like casteism, communalism, nationalism. Right. These are all ways to divide people and prevent them from uniting against whoever's exploiting them. Yeah. By pitting groups against each other. Right. The Vaishyas could distract everyone from their own accumulation of wealth and power.
Yeah, it's like that classic divide and conquer strategy.
Exactly, yeah.
It seems that no matter how much societies advance, there's always the potential for exploitation. Right. Just in different forms.
It takes different shapes.
Right. But Sarkar doesn't just focus on the negative aspects of the Vaeshya era, does he?
No, you're right. There were some positive developments, too.
Okay. What were some of those?
Well, you can't deny that their focus on efficiency and capital accumulation also led to advancements in technology production and even the creation of collective wealth. Okay. They understood how to organize, manage, and generate resources. Right. Which did bring some benefits to society.
So it's like a mixed bag.
Yeah, definitely. It's a complex interplay of progress and exploitation.
Right. That makes me wonder, are we stuck in these cycles forever?
Right.
Is there no escape from this historical pattern?
Well, that's where Sarkar's ideas get really interesting.
Okay.
He introduces this concept of revolution.
Okay.
But he's not just talking about a violent overthrow. Right. He means like a fundamental shift in consciousness. Okay. He believes these cycles will naturally lead to an uprising. Right. A push to dismantle the current exploitative structures.
Because people eventually reach a breaking point.
Exactly.
But as we've seen, just using force isn't enough to make real change.
Exactly. And that's where things get really exciting.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more about this revolutionary shift.
So Sarkar argues that true revolution needs more than just anger or physical strength. Okay. It needs intellect, morality, and a strong sense of social responsibility. Okay. It's about creating a whole new system, not just replacing one bad one with another.
Right. So who are the people who can make this change happen? Yeah. Are we talking about like a new kind of warrior?
Well, it's not about warriors in the traditional sense. Okay. Sarkar talks about sadvipras.
Sadvipras.
Yeah. These are morally upright intellectuals who have the qualities to lead this change.
So what exactly makes a sadvipra?
Right.
And how are they different from the Vipras we talked about earlier?
Okay, so both groups have intellect,
right?
But the difference is in their values and motivations.
Okay.
Unlike the Vipras, who could be manipulated and self-serving, sadvipras are driven by a strong sense of morality, justice, and a commitment to the greater good.
Right.
They have qualities like discipline, character, and a real dedication to helping humanity.
It sounds like they're like the ethical compass guiding society to a better future.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not just about force or even just intellect.
Right.
It's a combination of intelligence and strong morals.
Absolutely.
It's a really powerful idea.
Yeah.
But it makes me wonder, where do we fit into all of this?
Yeah.
Are we destined to repeat these cycles?
Right.
Or can we break free and create something truly different?
That's the big question.
Right.
And it's one we'll explore more deeply next time.
Okay.
So stay with us as we delve into what Sarkar's ideas mean for us today and in the future.
Okay, sounds good. We've gone through the Kshatriya, Vipra, and Vaeshya ages.
Right.
Seen those warriors, intellectuals, and the business class rise and fall.
Mm-hmm.
But where does that put us now? Are we, like Sarkar says, about to enter a whole new era?
Yeah.
And what role can we play in making that future happen?
Well, that's what makes this so exciting to explore.
Okay.
Sarkar doesn't just give us a theory about cycles.
Right.
He gives us a way to understand our own potential.
Okay.
Remember those sadvipras we talked about?
Yes.
They represent the possibility of a different kind of leader.
Okay.
Someone who's not driven by selfishness or force, but by a real desire to help humanity.
It's a nice thought.
Yeah.
But it feels kind of idealistic, don't you think?
Well,
I mean, look around. We're surrounded by isms and people chasing material things.
Sure.
So how can we even start moving toward this sadvipra-driven future?
You're right. It won't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But Sarkar emphasizes that real change starts with our thinking.
Right.
It's about recognizing those harmful patterns, those isms that divide us, and choosing to move past them.
So it's about being more aware of how our actions, even small ones, affect these big societal patterns.
Exactly.
But let's be honest, a lot of people are just trying to get by each day.
Right.
How can we expect them to think about the greater good when they're struggling just to survive?
That's a good point.
Right.
And it shows how important it is to create systems that support everyone.
Okay.
It's not about blaming people for being part of a system that's often stacked against them.
Right.
It's about fighting for policies and structures that make sure everyone has the basics: food, shelter, healthcare, education, so they have the chance to thrive.
It's about creating a world where everyone can reach their potential.
Yeah.
Not just a lucky few.
Exactly.
But how do we get from where we are now in a society that seems so focused on Vaeshya values to that kind of ideal world?
It's a process.
Okay.
And it starts by realizing that we're not just watching this happen.
Okay.
We have the power to choose. We can choose to support leaders who embody those sadvipra qualities.
Okay.
Leaders who are ethical, compassionate, and truly want to serve everyone.
Right.
We can challenge unfair systems and demand change.
So we're not just waiting for some revolution to magically occur.
Right.
It's about actively creating the future we want.
Exactly.
But with all the problems in the world, it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
Sure.
Where do we even start?
Sarkar really highlights the importance of looking inward.
Okay.
It starts by examining our own beliefs and actions.
Yeah.
Are we part of the problem or are we part of the solution?
Right.
Are we stuck in those isms that divide us?
Yeah.
Or are we actively trying to promote unity and understanding?
It's about taking responsibility for how we shape the world around us.
Exactly.
Realizing that even small acts of kindness, compassion, and making ethical choices can make a difference.
It all adds up. It's not about reaching some perfect utopia right away. It's about taking those small steps in the right direction.
Right.
Remember those signs of change we talked about.
Yeah.
What do you see happening around us?
Okay.
Are there people or movements that embody those sadvipra qualities?
Yeah.
Are people starting to question the old isms and look for better solutions?
It's about finding those signs of hope, those hints that a shift in thinking is already happening.
Exactly.
It's about getting inspired by those who are already working towards a better future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most importantly, it's about developing those sadvipra qualities in ourselves.
Right.
Choosing kindness instead of division.
Yeah.
Integrity instead of selfishness, and action instead of apathy.
Right. The future isn't set in stone.
Okay.
It's like a blank canvas.
Yeah.
And our choices determine what gets painted on it.
That's so empowering.
Yeah.
It means we're not just along for the ride.
Right.
We can actually take control and create a world that reflects our best values. So to everyone listening, as you think about these societal cycles, remember this. You're not just observing history.
Right.
You're part of it.
You're shaping it.
Your choices, your actions, they all contribute to the world around us.
Absolutely. Sarkar's ideas remind us that societal evolution isn't just something that happens to us.
Right.
It's a constant interplay of power, exploitation,
Yeah.
and the potential for positive change.
Right.
And each of us has a part to play in that.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Sarkar's work, we leave you with this. What kind of future will you help create?
Keep questioning, keep learning.
Yes.
And most importantly, keep acting with good intentions and compassion.
Because the power to make a more just and fair world is within each of us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep learning and keep striving to make the world a better place.
Nice.